It's week 9 of the college football season, and we've got some more of our best bets for you here on another edition of Game Day Gambles. That is correct. We're over here on the KC Sports Authority podcast. Keegan Russell and Greg here with you for another edition of Game Day Gambles. If you're checking us out over here on the YouTube where you can find the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be one of the 1,000+ subscribers we have so far this year. And join us every week for this Game Day Gambles episode where we talk college football, the NFL. And now next week, we'll have some NBA and college basketball content on here weekly, a weekly sports betting episode here for you, as well as additional content that you can find on all of our social media channels at KCSA Pod. All right, Greg, we're going to get into week 9 of college football. Not the best slate we've had throughout the season, but there still are quite a few great games. We're going to give you guys a couple of our plays this week, discuss the game of the week, give you a money line parlay, and then if we have time here at the end, also look at some of the Heisman odds. So, Greg, let's just roll straight into it. First game up, Minnesota at Illinois, and depending on where you're looking at this right now in the week, Minnesota 2.5-point favorite on the road against Illinois, a top 25 team.
Yeah, I saw this line even open as high as 3.5, down to 2.5. The public is going to hammer Illinois because they're at home. They're ranked. They can't figure out why are they an underdog. So that's why we're going to bet Minnesota, right, Keegan?
That seems logical. I think some of that too is it overplaying the loss to Oregon last week, and this is a classic public's mindset is, oh, they're going to easily bounce back. Oregon's the best team in the country. Minnesota's not a ranked team. They're going to get it done at home easily.
Yeah, and what I think that is going to be overlooked is Minnesota actually has the 21st best defense in the country. So take Minnesota, lay the 2.5, cash your ticket.
First play of the day, 11 a.m. that game. Another game, though, we just mentioned them as being a team that destroyed Illinois last week and looks like the best team in college football this week, at least. That is the number 1 Oregon Ducks on the road at Michigan. Still a big, pretty heavy favorite in this game so far. 15.5 point is what I've got right now on FanDuel. And Greg, this is one you're telling me that we are hammering Oregon again to go in and do what Texas did to Michigan and just make Michigan look like a dumpster team of the Big Ten without Harbaugh.
Yeah, look, we said this a few weeks ago when Texas went in there. I think Michigan's going to play decent games like they did last week against Michigan State. But when they play the cream of the crop, they're not going to be able to compete, just like Texas did to them. Oregon will go in there. They won't be able to stop them. They won't be able to score points with them. I see 14.5, but even if it gets up to 15, 16, I think you can lay it. I think they win by 3 scores. Take Oregon. Yeah. Keegan was right in September when he told you they were the best team. I thought it was Ohio State. It's definitely Oregon.
Yeah, they can put up points like nobody's business. And I think I would play this all the way up to 16.5, and then I might lay off there. But again, this could be over by the end of the first quarter. A team that was ranked last week that is not ranked this week, going on the road, that is Vanderbilt at Auburn. This is one that I'm not quite sure if I think the line is set correct. Auburn is kind of listed as a relatively heavy favorite at home. What's your early thoughts on this matchup before I get on?
Normally this is a line where I'd say, oh, this is fishy. Maybe we take Auburn. But when you dive into this game, I get it. Auburn's yardage is 42nd in the country versus Vanderbilt's, which is 167. However, Vandy averages 5 points more a game than them scoring. And then when you look at defense, same thing. Auburn's defense is better when you talk about yardage. But when you talk about what the defenses give up for points, they're almost even. So you want to give me 7 with a Vandy team that's very, very, very competitive. I think I'm taking Vandy here. And if I get beat, I can live with it. But I'm taking Vandy.
Yeah, that's my play too. 7 points is too much for a team in Vanderbilt that against top competition this year in the SEC, they've either won or played it within a 1-score game. So that tells me they're going to keep this in a 1-score game. And Auburn, to me, we've talked about it earlier throughout the season. They just don't really pass the eye test for me. Their wins are against bad teams, and their losses haven't been all that close. Yes, their offense can score, but against some of those bigger SEC teams with good defenses, they just couldn't do enough. And I think Vanderbilt, to me, looks the part. They play these games close. They're well coached. Diego Pavia has been a shining star in college football this year. On the outside, still the Heisman Heisman voting because his statistics aren't quite there yet. But he runs the ball for him, he throws the ball for him, he gets some touchdowns. So yeah, I'd like Vanderbilt on the road to get us that win.
Keegan, as we head into election week, I want to say that was a very, very, very well PC way of saying Auburn sucks. Bet Vanderbilt.
True. Auburn's burned us a couple times throughout the year anyway, as well. Another big time road matchup. Again, going to the SEC for a lot of my plays this week is number 19 Ole Miss on the road to Arkansas. Ole Miss has kind of struggled the last 4 weeks. Hasn't been the team we thought they were the first 2 weeks of the season. As I look at this, though, Ole Miss is a 7-point favorite. I think for some of my bets I need to hit, I need Ole Miss to cover the 7 here and go out and win this game because I still have them in some of my college football playoff parlay. So I think I still feel pretty confident. Arkansas has been good. They've been good at home. They've been able to slow teams down just enough and keep games close. I think Ole Miss needs this, and I think they're going to be focused and dialed in because they're still looking at getting back to the top of the SEC standings. I think this is one that they need to go prove it to me. So I'm going to ride Ole Miss this week again.
Ole Miss wins, but closer than you think.
So you got Arkansas on the cover in this one.
I would take the 7, but Ole Miss wins the game.
Yeah, I think I could be talked to that. I'm going to see where the line ends up as far as money line. So I might change that to just a money line play on Ole Miss. Next one up, another SEC matchup, of course. Number 10, Texas A&M on the road at South Carolina. As before we got into this game here on the podcast, Greg and I both decided this is one we differ on. Texas A&M, I've got them as a 2.5-point favorite on the road. They've looked good. They've been solid. After their first 2 weeks of the season, they've really dialed in. South Carolina, though, they have been a solid team as well. They started the season off terrible, but South Carolina has been slowly getting back together, keeping these games close. But to me, Texas A&M, again, they passed the eye test for me as a top 10 team. They look really good. They've played decently well on the road, so I think they can go out and get this done and win by a field goal.
So South Carolina has a knack for being a pain in the ass, especially this time of the year, at home, at night in the SEC. It seems like they always catch someone ranked around 10th at this time of the year at home under the lights. Their defense is good. Texas A&M's offense is okay, but I don't think they're a lights-out offense. Give me the home team at night to pull off the upset and ruin A&M's season.
I can see that.
Hey, and you know what? You need Ole Miss. You need South Carolina, Keegan.
I do. Wait. Do we need South Carolina in one of our plays?
No, but if you get South Carolina to knock off A&M, Ole Miss moves up.
That's true. Yeah, that'll help us out there. All right, moving along. Back to the Big Ten. Next one on our slate I've got for us, Greg, is number 13 undefeated Indiana on the road at a Michigan State team that really hasn't been that great this year. They've been up and down, back and forth. I have this one. I know that we're going to talk about this later in one of your parlays as an easy win for Indiana, but do they also get the cover?
I think Indiana wins. Michigan State has a decent defense. They're at home. Could they backdoor here? Maybe. But this is one I know we have a lot of moneyline parlay players. I think you can feel pretty comfortable putting Indiana in another moneyline parlay. They've been a staple in a lot of our moneyline parlays this year. I think they'll win again.
Yeah, 7.5, interesting spot for right now. Maybe that'll change as we get to the end of the week. But Indiana's been doing nothing but winning. So why should I bet against them? I don't think I will. But yes, I think the play here, if you're a little worried about the 7.5, is yes, can you just add Indiana to one of your parlays that we'll talk about here? Let's see, make sure I'm not missing anything. Any other games you want to get to before we get to our game of the week?
Yeah, I absolutely hate myself. So I'm going to bet Iowa again at home and lay 3. They've tricked me again by an offensive outpour last week. So I'm going to give 3 against Wisconsin because, again, I trust Iowa at home with that defense. So if you've been listening to this all year, I'll bet Iowa again. If you're smart, you'll bet Wisconsin, but I'll be on Iowa given the 3.
See, that was one I left off of this one because I'm right now I'm leaning Wisconsin to cover the 3. I think they're well coached. This is a game that they can go and win, but Iowa's also been a little bit different of a team this year. It hasn't been the top 5 defense and goes out and wins 17-10. They've put up some points this year, and Wisconsin can also put up points. So I like this game, not enough to make it an official play just yet, but I like that there. I did want to throw out 2 other Big Ten matchups that I think are just interesting matchups this weekend. USC at Washington. USC is really in no man's land right now, going, what on earth do we do with this contract with Lincoln Riley? You can't get rid of him. His buyout's insanely high, so you're stuck with them. But they just look so mediocre. Washington also, of course, backtrotting from where they were last year. I think this is one that USC could go drop on the road. And then Nebraska, UCLA, another interesting one. Dylan Raiola is fun to watch. Nebraska's been fun to watch this year. Matt Rule's a much better coach. But two other games I think would be interesting, but I don't have any official plays on them.
Yeah, look, everyone keep an eye on the Washington game. Keegan brings up a good point. I think USC people are going to lean towards, but if you dive into the stats, you're going to be shocked when you see Washington 38th best offense in the country when it comes to yards per game, and their defense is 13th when it comes to yards per game. On paper, 2.5 is a steal. So take a look at this one.
Yeah, that's one I'm going to I have circled on my list to pay close attention to Friday night, Saturday morning. Because Washington. I guess I'm curious to see where the money shifts throughout the week, because I think USC, it's the national brand. Lincoln Riley's going to figure it out. They'll get it done. Okay, let's get into our game of the week. Probably the biggest game this weekend, one of the biggest Big Ten games of the year, at least for one of these two programs. But that is number 4 Ohio State on the road at number 3 Penn State. Ohio State's been a top 5 team all year, but in all honesty, to me, they haven't looked the part offensively. They've had some good stretches, but Will Howard has still made Will Howard plays, as I saw at Kansas State the last 2 years. Penn State, however, on the other side, very solid team, both sides of the ball. The biggest question mark you have here for me is, can James Franklin get it done? This is a type of game that James Franklin is terrible at in the biggest games of the season, just managing the game properly. But this is one, as I look at this game, Ohio State opens as a 3.5-point favorite on the road. Right now, I feel like I am hammering Penn State to cover that. Again, Penn State to me has been very solid both sides of the ball. I've talked about it plenty of times in this podcast with offensive coordinator Coach Kotelnicki, being from the Jayhawks. He's the mad scientist, finds ways to scheme things up. If James Franklin lets him cook, then I think Penn State can get this done. There's just something about the Ohio State offense that I just don't have enough trust factor with yet to go on the road in a big environment and get it done. So for me, I'll take Penn State. This is the year James Franklin has to prove they can get over the hump, supplant themselves into the Big Ten championship and a college football playoff by getting the monster victory over Ohio State.
So this game shocked me when I saw the line. I actually thought Penn State was going to be favored at home.
I thought they would be there.
And I'll tell you the other thing that shocked me was, whoever schedules these games at Penn State, what are you doing? Why is this game at noon? This should be 7:30 p.m. under the lights, Happy Valley, whiteout. Good luck, Ohio State, just like they would do to Michigan. I don't know why this game's at noon, but it is, and we have to deal with it, Keegan. But with that said, I'm taking 3.5 with you with Penn State. I would bet this before that line falls to 3 or 2.5. I think Penn State is the better team. I think Ohio State struggles at times. I think they struggle on the road. I think we saw it last week. They narrowly escaped. Give me Penn State to win, and it wouldn't shock me if they win by double digits.
Ooh, double digits. Tease this up to 9.5.
So you can get yourself some good money. I love Penn State. Yeah. Look, we predicted them in the beginning of the year for the college football playoff. Correct. I think this team will be playing on New Year's Day. You can write that down.
Yeah. The only thing that has me semi-worried about this is the fact that James Franklin just has not gotten the job done in these types of games. So,
but he's never been the better team, Keegan.
That's true. The better team now. He finally does have the better team here. But yeah, that's our game of the week. Last college football kind of stuff we have here for. We got a money line parlay for you that Greg's got. 3-team money line parlay this week. What you got?
Teams I don't think will lose in the top 25 this week are SMU, Indy, and Ole Miss. I think you can play them by 2s, play them by 3s, do what you want with them, money line them. I think those 3 all move on to next week. They all win. They all have to win too.
That's true. If you parlay those 3, it's plus 151 right now. So you're still making some decent amount of money there. All right, Greg, last thing I wanted to get into with this on college football real quickly is just to look at some of the Heisman odds. And I'm going to switch screens here for a second and share through, wouldn't say the midway point of the season, but we're more than through the midway point of the season now. Want to get your thoughts on the Heisman list. Early in the season, we gave out a couple of our plays here, but now you look, you've got Travis Hunter as the leader in the clubhouse for that at plus 200. Dylan Great Gabriel right behind him at plus 250. Cam Ward at plus 300. Ashton Genty, who's just running over everybody at plus 450. And then Cade Klubnik and Carson Beck on the outside looking in. At this point in the season, who do you think the Heisman favorite is? And is there a play you like on the Heisman at this point?
I mean, I think the favorite is obviously Hunter. He's got the national publicity behind him. He plays both ways. We gave out Cam Ward earlier in the season for everyone because we said Miami was going to make the playoffs and they were going to run away with the ACC. So, God, you're behind there. I think it was 12-1 when we gave it out in September.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3-1 now. I still think that's the play. If you're telling me off this board who the best value is, can someone from Boise State win the Heisman? I don't know, but God, they can't tackle the guy, Keegan.
They can't. I think the problem with Genty, though, is he's going to have to keep putting up 200-yard, 2-3 touchdown performances to keep the public's interest in him as a Heisman favorite. The one I think that is misleading to me on this group is I don't really buy into Dylan Gabriel as a Heisman favorite. I think he's been good, but I don't think the statistics really propel him above some of these other guys. Travis Hunter is the best player in college football, player of the week in the Big 12, both sides of the ball last week. You know, if he keeps having these 100-yard games and getting a couple pass breakups, interceptions, forced fumbles, whatever on defense, I mean, he should run away with it. Just the question is, does Colorado's win-loss record to end the year, how much does that impact him versus some of these other teams? So I think the play here for me, if you're trying to get value, it's not that much more of odds, but I still like Cam Ward at plus 300. And then Cade Klubnik at plus 1,500 is interesting. I don't think he can do enough to get up there. Drew Allard plus 5,000. Shedeur Sanders plus 5,000. I don't think he'd do enough. If Alabama ran the table the rest of the year and Jalen Milroe goes for 4+ TDs every week, I think he could slide back up. But yeah, I think looking at this screen here, to me, I would say Cam Ward is still that was our preseason favorite for the Heisman. I think here towards the latter half of the season at plus 300 still good value.
It's all about the you.
All right, so that'll do it for college football stuff. I know we haven't gotten to our NFL Week 8 bets yet, but we do want to get you a Thursday night play because Greg, you do like this Thursday night matchup, despite the fact that the Jets have looked terrible in prime time this year.
Yeah, dude, you got to get one of those red sirens so we can do a sucker alert because, I mean, this is sucker spread written all over it. How do you not bet that? Look, I don't think they're good. I sit here and tell you I'm sorry for saying this. If you don't bet the Jets, you're not paying attention to our podcast because this screams Vegas is just daring you to bet the Texans. And the public will, and the Mirage will build another floor thanks to the public gamblers. I'm betting the Jets. I will bet the Jets, and I'll bet them heavy because this line makes no freaking sense. Give me the Jets. Somehow Aaron Rodgers will look like 2014. I don't know how, but it'll happen. Jets win. Adams probably scores. Give me the Jets.
I just don't know how you can pick the Jets to win a game. They look so bad. Now, I will say this. This is a absolute must-win game for the Jets. So they have to go. If they lose this game this season, I still think their season's over already, but they have to win this if they have any hope of maintaining playoff eligibility. The Texans could drop this, and it doesn't really hurt them that much. They just lost Stephon Diggs. You're now 3 weeks in with Devontae Adams. So sure, they could do it. I just don't know how you could bet the Jets to win a game right now.
Here's how we're going to do it because, like I say before, they're going to be lined up from Vegas to Topeka to Houston to bet the Texans. It's Halloween. This is the trick, not the treat.
It's the trick's not the treat. I love it. And that whole time I left the Heisman odds up for it. So that's our NFL Thursday night play. We will have NFL Week 8 best bets coming up for you later this week. So make sure you are subscribed to the podcast over here on our YouTube channel at KC Sports Authority so you can stay tuned for when that episode drops. And then again, starting next week, we'll start getting some college basketball and NBA plays. We're going to kind of shift our format to one episode a week, 20 minutes long, ideally one segment for college football, NFL, college basketball, and the NBA, 5 minutes apiece. We'll try and speed through them. And then some days, depending on how the week shapes up, we might spend more time on some of the other sports too. And then, of course, I'll have some weekly plays throughout the week on all of our social media channels. So make sure you hit us up on any of those at KCSA Pod. If you do have any games, questions, sports betting content questions you have, be sure to send them our way. You can put them in the comments below here. You can DM us on any of our social media platforms, like I mentioned. We'd love to take any questions you have, and I think I'm going to try and get some fantasy football talk here as we come to the stretch run of fantasy football here over the next couple of weeks. But Greg, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Nope, let's cash some tickets, everyone.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Game Day Gambles on the KC Sports Authority podcast. We'll catch you guys in the next one.